Okay, guys. So I hope you had a great asynchronous day on Wednesday. Obviously we aren't having live classes today on Thursday, but I did want to go over some things that you're going to need to know tomorrow for your benchmark slash short cycle assessment exam. So it's about transportation in Ohio. So again, we'll go over some vocabulary words. Remember, the vocabulary words are not on your exam tomorrow. They're just words that you need to know and pay attention to. So mode is a manner of which something is done. Um, my wife's favorite mode of travel is by plane, as an example. Transportation, moving people or goods from one place to another. Airplanes are the fastest mode of transportation. Um, that's pretty self-explanatory. Multi-state is involving more than one state. So if you would go from Ohio to West Virginia, you're going into multi-states. We are going to a multi-state travel. We are going on a multi-state trip, I should say, in December. All right, so transportation. This is covering your Ohio standard geography, places, and regions. So American transportation. So we're going to start way back before anything was invented. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is walking was the first form of transportation. I think I brought this up before whenever we were talking in earlier weeks, but walking was the very first form of transportation. If you wanted to go somewhere, you had to walk. And then eventually dirt roads were introduced, and then wagons pulled by horses. It took 6 days to travel from Cleveland to Cincinnati. Time cut. It was a 1.5 day trip in 1830 when stagecoaches were introduced, and trains reduced time to half a day in the 1840s, and now it takes 4 hours by car. So that tells you how fast transportation used to be and how fast it is now. All right, so the Ohio transportation history, it's isolated geographically, okay? So what that means is we have mountains on the east, we have Lake Erie to the north, the Ohio River to the south, right? The first method of transportation in Ohio was Native American trails. That was the only way that we knew how to get somewhere because of the Native American trails. So mapping was inconsistent. Then roads were introduced, and we would use the roads by walking, horseback, and wagon, but we did it generally at slow speeds. All right, so that's something to remember. And then came waterway travel. Okay, so this is why I wanted you guys to watch for your homework, your Erie Canal readings and videos. It's going to tell you a lot about how waterway travel worked. So the Ohio Canal System was built from 1825 to 1840. It contained 1,000 miles of waterway. All right, so it was wide enough just for 2 boats to pass. Then in 1836, we started building railroads, and it began in Toledo, and there was 3,000 miles of track by 1860. There were 73 companies that were running railroads in Ohio at the time. Then you might have seen these, not so much in Ohio anymore, but if you would go to San Francisco, they have a trolley system. It kind of works the same exact way that bumper cars work. If you go to amusement park, they have the little antenna on it, and it goes down on the rails down the streets, and it gets the electricity from the power cables overhead. So that was called an interurban railroad. It was an electric powered trolley. It ran between cities. It traveled at moderate highway speed, so probably about 55 to 60 miles an hour. There wasn't a town that had 10,000 people in it that was not serviced. But eventually the industry collapsed when cars and trucks were introduced. And if you go to some small towns, I know there's some towns around where I live, you can still see some train tracks in the middle of the road. They're pretty much paved over, but if you look hard enough, you can see it. And that's what this was part of. It was part of the interurban railroad. It was just a trolley system, basically. All right, so now we're going to talk about how we get everywhere nowadays by highways, right? In 1911, the state roads were given numbers, okay? So every state road has a number. If you go outside and you look at a road and it has the state of Ohio on it, there will be a number in it. There's 262,492 miles of paved roads in Ohio. Okay, that's a lot of roads. In 1956, the interstate system began, and we have 21 major interstates running through Ohio. So remember, guys, interstates, that means it's coming from one state to another state. So 21 roads cross Ohio that's coming from different states. All right, so they essentially ended travel by train. the interstate system essentially ended the travel by train. It also eliminated unsafe roads, and it promoted speedy, safe transcontinental travel. So if you remember back in the earlier weeks, we talked about transcontinental. That means going across a continent, right? So that means you're going from one place to another on North America. So if you wanted to go from Boston to Los Angeles, that's a transcontinental travel. All right. So yeah, we can drive to Florida if we wanted to from Ohio. We can drive to California. We can drive anywhere we wanted to on these roads and highway systems. So again, I am not going to go over the quiz questions with you because I want you to do the book it that is assigned for today. It's actually under today's Thursday's module. And I want you to be able to go in there and play the game because that is going to give you all the questions. And for the quiz tomorrow or the exam tomorrow, and make sure you study. But let me get to your homework, guys. All right, guys. So for your homework for today, I want you to watch your Canals and Roadways video, and then I need you to read the Ohio Canal reading and play the Book It review for tomorrow's test. Okay. Do not do this work. It's week 10 homework, still industry worksheet. You should have done that yesterday. That was left over from yesterday's PowerPoint. Remember, there's no homework for today, but homework is graded. All homework is mandatory. Study your quiz study guide. Bonus points for doing a video project. Remember, you are your village's tourism person, and you're going to show off your hometown. And turning your CNN 10 worksheets for bonus points. Remember, you have to go to youtube.com and search for CNN 10 and watch today's CNN 10 because I am unable to put links in there for you. All right, guys. Tomorrow, you will be getting an email with a link. If you cannot find the test I need you guys to take tomorrow, you will be able to find the link in an email. So make sure you do your quiz tomorrow, your short cycle assessment. That is a graded short cycle assessment. It's a benchmark exam. If you've been studying your study guide, if you've been doing your Book It review, you shouldn't have any issue with the short cycle assessment tomorrow. But be on the lookout for that email tomorrow. I'll send it out. And if you don't want to do it that way, it opens up at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and you can just go into the modules under Friday and click it and do your exam. All right, guys, I will see everybody on Monday. And remember, no live class tomorrow. So since today's Thursday, and this will be the last time I'm talking to you, go Browns, beat the Steelers.